The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello there and welcome to the show. It's brought to you in association with Levi Solicitors, who will offer you a 10% discount on your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. Dan, Michael and Moscow with you on the weekly show. Tell me something good about Levi Solicitors, please, Michael.
Can I just check if that 10% is on a limited range of services? For example, wills, probate and conveyancing, or is it across everything they do?
As far as I'm aware, everything they do. Imagine that.
Wow.
What a world.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
What do they do, though, beyond wills, probate and conveyancing? Because it'd be easy just to turn up, not just once a week, but several times a week and trot those three services off because they might be the big three in your mind. But I'm sure there are lots more. Have I bought you enough time now to open the webpage?
You have, yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Residential property disputes. So what about that?
Yeah.
Licensing, professional negligence, commercial property, commercial dispute resolution. That's me reading some things. Use those services if you need them.
What, at a discount?
Yes.
levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. Right, let's crack on with the show then and catch up with the latest. And the latest is good news where Archie Gray is concerned, because Archie Gray has signed a new contract at Ellen Road. His previous one, was it 2025, was due to expire, and there were certain limitations around what you can sign as a wee boy. And as he gets older, you're allowed to give him longer contracts and presumably more pay.
And now he's staying forever. So that's good, isn't it? 2028.
How old will he be?
I don't know. Still about 14. Will he win his first Ballon d'Or at Leeds, or will he have to go elsewhere for that?
He wants the Champions League as well, doesn't he? That's his dream, win it with Leeds. And did he say captain of England? Was that one of his other targets where he was like, yeah, I've got some time?
World Cup, maybe?
All these things. Yeah, he's going to do it all. He looks good enough.
Well, that's nice, isn't it, boys and girls? It's nice to have nice things, and it's nice to keep them. Are we naive enough to think that he might spend his whole career at Leeds? Am I being naive in even suggesting that suggestion?
I mean, he might. He might. You never know. The cynical bit of you always goes, a new contract. Well, wonder what the release clause is. And, if he's got a decent agent, which probably has, because his dad...
It's his dad.
Kind of is one.
Yeah.
You would think there'd be something built in that if we don't go up and start looking half decent at some point, he'll be able to leave. But, it's nice that we might get to keep him.
I mean, we're
at least for a bit if we go up.
Yeah, we're in a world of FFP here, aren't we? And we've seen what's happened to Forest and Everton this week because they've been very, very naughty boys.
A big miscarriage of justice.
Right.
If you read their fans on Twitter.
Is that right?
That's what's going on.
Ah, okay. I'll have to go back and read some more about that then and form a more informed opinion.
Oh, they've just broken the rules.
But the point is, I was saying on the show's propaganda, wasn't it, where Everton's, beg your pardon, Forest's argument is, well, we actually were going to comply with it, but we hung on to Brennan Johnson and sold him to Spurs for a bit more money, which means we were trying to comply. And as you rightly pointed out, well, you didn't have to, wait and sell him, and he might have broken his leg. You don't know what's going to happen, do you? So better to be proactive with these things.
So you should sell him now?
Yes. So
okay.
Cash in now. Well, is it in maximum
January?
Value with his most value on his? No. What I'm saying is that we're in a world where FFP counts, and if you don't comply with it, you get in bother. So you've either got to have, I don't know, billions coming in from some sort of petro gas state that you somehow get sponsorship deals going on, or unfortunately at times you have to sell players. Can we sell other ones? Can we do what Man City do? Create some sort of human farm? Or is that what Archie Gray is from our farm?
I think even apart from the profit and loss part of things, there's the football point of view as well, is that if he does turn out to be good enough to win a Ballon d'Or and Leeds are in the Championship or mid-table in the Premier League, it's almost an argument that it's cruel to keep somebody because if he's that good...
If you love him, set him free.
Well, yeah, it's the argument we had when we were in the Championship and all the players were leaving under Bates. If Leeds were better, we could keep them. So it's got to work both ways. Leeds need to be good enough to do the things that a player who is good enough to win a Champions League needs.
But people don't like to hear that, do they?
No, they love to hear it because it means our club can build around Archie Gray and become that club. I mean, but then we just need to make sure we're not in the Birmingham City position, because if you imagine if, Birmingham had held on to Jude Bellingham, then what's that doing for England's prospects of winning the next World Cup?
Yeah. No, it's a fair point, but I don't think fans like us been saying, oh, well, he might not be here.
Well, it's a slightly...
Because we've started off celebrating a new contract and we're selling him within about 5 minutes.
Well, it's a more romantic way of looking at it, then he'll put 50 million on the balance sheet for profit and sustainability. So if either way he's going, there'll be two reasons. One, you can look at it, the club might need to sell him for money at some point, or he might want to go because his ambitions are so high that Leeds just can't fulfil them. It's the same thing either way. Neither one is something that a fan of a club wants to hear, but one of them at least has the idea that if we get some more players who are as good as Archie Gray, keep him until his brother's good enough to play alongside him as well, then you've got two potential, they can vie for the Ballon d'Or at Leeds.
And it's a dynasty.
Yeah, but we just have to have a team that's good enough to do that. And if the team isn't good enough for that, then I wouldn't begrudge somebody with the talent that it looks like Archie Gray has, or the talent that Jude Bellingham clearly has gone on to have after leaving Birmingham at 16. You can't really begrudge them and go like, no, you should not have gone and tried to make the most out of your career as a footballer. You should have stayed with us in lower mid-table. So all these things happen, and I find that part of it more interesting than the profit and sustainability, because at least you're then going like, well, it's a little bit like when we watched James Milner winning everything. That was nice. I enjoyed watching James Milner winning every trophy, going envious that it wasn't us, but also great that James from Horsforth was going to do all those things. And the fact of him, well, I suppose the sale was slightly different circumstances because Ridsdale had messed us up, but was just a player who was, what would have been the point of having James Milner in League One?
And returning to a point I've touched on a few times, stuff we've said about enjoying like the here and now, which it's a drum you've beaten before, and I listened and I thought, you know what, he's right. And that's why we should enjoy Archie Gray here and now, because he is here in the here and now. But we said, didn't we, in one of the recent match balls, we were laughing about the fact that you spend half your time as a football fan wanting the game to be over because you're winning, or whatever. Well, if you are winning, but you'll spend half an hour a game thinking, right, come on now, just see it through to the final whistle. So you're always looking further down the road, aren't you? But actually, and this is one of the things I've tried to do this season, just in general, is enjoy what we're experiencing now. There's time for tension further down the track.
I mean, it's kind of started
Has
already.
it? Or for
It's just that we've won 3 games 3-0, so there's not been any in recent weeks. You've forgotten there's already been tension.
Yeah, but I was more annoyed over Christmas with them, that they just felt like they let themselves down. I don't know. Rather than the tension had crept in, thinking that we can't do this, because I am by and large an optimist on these things, and I still think we've got a shot of getting in second, albeit we're not sitting pretty as it stands at the minute. Southampton and Ipswich better off because that's how the table works. The teams that are higher up are performing better than the ones just underneath. But
the general point stands, though. We should just enjoy watching Archie Gray, because he's magnificent.
It's great fun, isn't he?
The way he effortlessly cruises through games, and the level of composure he has for a child is absurd.
Like when he turns out of trouble, he'll pick it up between two players, and rather than just like hoof it down the line aimlessly, and we'll come on to Rasmus in just a minute or two, he'll try and beat the man and then cut inside the second one and pass it off to one of his mates in midfield. And there's loads of those moments during the games where you just go,
he's as good.
That's just great.
I know we've seen him at right back a lot, but in central midfield, he looks as good as any other teenage star we've ever had, which is like Delph, Milner, Cook. He's of that sort of a level, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I know Lewis Cook, I think, would have probably gone on to much better things had he not had a run of injuries, but like Fab Delph did all right, and so did James Milner, and I think I'm pretty sure Archie will.
Yeah, speaking of Rasmus then, should we get onto that? Because Mourinho's been sacked at Roma. Does this mean we're getting back?
He's in their first team, isn't he? He's playing centre-back.
Ooh, that's good.
He's doing a great job.
Not against Milan, he wasn't.
Listen, he was trying.
What happened against Milan? Because I didn't see this.
He was just, only from every goal.
Do I already know the answer?
The score was 3-1 to Milan, and every goal they scored includes Rasmus doing something that a Sunday League player would be embarrassed by.
Yeah.
He gets nutmegged for one. The one he gets nutmegged is he's up behind Olivier Giroud and just standing behind him while he lets him backheel it, and it looks as if he's almost got worse.
Right.
Like watching those things, I remember him being bad for us, but I don't remember him being that easy to get past. Like Giroud may as well have been playing against a 9-year-old. But the way he says, well, there'll be loads of room behind me. I can't feel. Christensen is standing behind him, sort of at arm's length, with his arm out as if to be like, yeah, don't try and turn because I'm here. And it's like, it just Giroud takes all day. Just like, I'll just beat him easily. The first goal, he just comes running out of position to the ball, and they just pass it into loads of space in the penalty area that he's just run out of and scored. Can't remember what's the third one. Oh yeah, the second one. I can't get numbers in order. The second one, it's a cross or a corner, and Giroud is behind him, and he just kind of turns around and goes, "Oh,
you're there, mate."
Yeah.
Ah.
So he's done I mean, it could just be that he didn't like Mourinho, and so he's doing all this to get him sacked. And then when somebody comes in, they've got Daniel De Rossi on an interim basis until the end of the season. Then maybe he'll suddenly start performing brilliantly for De Rossi. Maybe if they get another coach who is currently living in Italy, available, kind of in the market, talking himself up for
somebody who's familiar with,
for some jobs, somebody who knows how to get the best in inverted commas out of him, and has been saying that he's been looking at jobs with clubs that could be qualifying for Europa League. That's why he's waiting for the right opportunity. Then that could be something.
There's a long run up to saying Jesse Marsch, isn't it?
It made me laugh. Yeah.
Can I just ask you, because I don't think we've spoken about Jesse's recent podcast appearances. We have touched on them in passing on these shows. Have you been enjoying them?
No, I've been enduring them. I did quite enjoy the one he was on with Michael Anthony before Christmas. It was quite interesting. I don't know anything about Michael Anthony, but his list of guests, he seemed to do it because...
was he desperate?
Well, no, because Bob Bradley had done it, and he does everything that Bob Bradley does. I can't find the list, but the previous guests include Bob Bradley, Graham Linehan, Matt Letizia, and a run of Man United players because the presenter supports Man United. It's a real odd mixture of people, and then Jesse Marsch pops up. But what's funny, it's been removed from the YouTube version, but at the start of it, Jesse is late, but the recording has started. The guy is obviously decided to start playing it now. I'll just start recording now and wait for him. So this guy, he says, I don't mind a couple of minutes late, but this 24 minutes late is getting on a bit. And you need the bleeper ready, because he then just goes, where is this cunt?
Right.
And then he carries on. He's like, so it's talking about what the podcast is going to be doing next year. And then he says, oh, hold on a minute. I'm getting an email now from this ignorant bastard. And then that's obviously Jesse saying, oh, I'm nearly there. And then you hear him, and then there's like, knock at the door. It's like, Jesse, hi, come in. And it's like, sit closer to the microphone. Shall we get going?
And this is all put out?
Yeah, it's all part of the thing. So it must be part of this.
I mean, when we're calling each other characters like that, those are the bits we cut out before the show starts, then we pretend it's all fine on air, don't we?
It must be part of Michael Anthony's...
just a simmering tension between me and Michael. We absolutely loathe each other, don't we?
Part of his shtick, I guess. He does ask him towards the end as well. He gets into some quickfire questions. And one of the quickfire questions is, do you fear the concept of death?
Oh, wow.
And Jesse's answer is...
Do you fear the concept of death, Michael?
No, not really.
No.
It might
it's
be
all right. Just be all lovely and quiet, won't it?
I'm going to correct. I think it might be fear the concept of dying, whichever one it is. And then he eventually says, it's great. Jesse turns it round into a full Marsh's, where he's like, no, actually, I'm more about the positivity of living. But it takes him a while to get there. He's thrown off, and he makes a few references through it where he's like, I like being in uncomfortable situations. Like, that's why I'm loving this podcast where you're putting me against the wall. And he's clearly not loving it, because he throws in that reference. It's like when Bob Bradley comes up, he's like, yeah, Bob told me to do this show. It's like, what the fuck has Bob got me into? But
if you were sat in the room with Jesse Marsch, what would you ask him, Moscow?
I would ask him, is it okay if I go? Because there'd be no point talking to him. I mean, the thing that stuck out on the Simon Jordan one, where he's talking about how when he was sacked, he shouldn't have been sacked by Leeds. Simon Jordan saying, you were 17th. He says, no, we weren't on
imaginary things.
Yeah, on games in hand, we were 13th. And then Simon Jordan says, you had 18 points. He says, no, on expected goals, we had 28 points. The one that's kind of gone under the radar is he says, Simon Jordan said, well, when you took over from Marcelo Bielsa, they were 16th. He goes, no, actually, on points per game, they were worse. They were lower than 16th. It's like every single scenario has an imaginary version where Jesse can go, well, actually, if you use different metrics.
Yeah, don't use points. Don't use points per game for my bit.
But
do use it for other people's stuff. And also, if you can go, because Jesse was very keen to stress across the period, wasn't he? You go, all right, well, let's look at Bielsa's points per game across his time at Leeds, shall we?
Yeah.
Oh, he was doing brilliantly. He would obviously they'd have finished 12th that year if they'd have just left him in charge.
He does it with Bob Bradley as well, because Simon Jordan starts saying, because he's part of his thing is like, it almost feels like he came to the Premier League to sort of defend the honour of Bob Bradley and the way he was treated at Swansea. And Simon Jordan makes the point. It's like, yeah, but Swansea were getting battered every week. And he goes, oh, well, they were getting battered before he came. He says, well, he didn't make it better. He says, oh, well, actually, if you look at the metrics, he did make it slightly better.
Didn't Bob Bradley get a ridiculously low number of points, like much worse than Jesse? I'm sure he ended
he was only there for like a few months because it
was catastrophically bad. He lost more or less every game, I think.
But in Jesse's head, he was chased away for saying PKs instead of penalties and things like this.
And it was vicious British media.
It was all, well, it was and even on that as well, when he's talking about how the thing about what he said about Bielsa's players being overtrained is like the reason that got made a big deal was that there were people, Leeds fans, almost waiting for him to slip up. They were waiting for me to slip up. Like, well, why did you do it then? You knew that people were waiting to slip up.
Bury your job.
Don't say it. So. He's very much. I'm enjoying. I've written about it all in the new magazine, but I'll do this bit where.
When's that out for?
The Preston game on Sunday, so it'll be out very soon on the line. And he's got his data team, who are presumably the ones going, no, it's all right, Jesse, you were doing really well. But he's also got his AI team, and the way he's describing the work with the AI team is that they're kind of they're looking at clubs, seeing what their transfer politics are. I love the phrase transfer politics. See what the players have got in the squad, what match plans they use, and then using AI to see, like, if Jesse was the manager, using his ideas, how would that play out? Like, what would they do? What could they do to strengthen the squad? And what could a different match plan do with those players to get more out of them? And it's a literal description of somebody playing Football Manager.
Right.
That is exactly what Football Manager is. You take over a data-driven copy of Leeds United Football Club.
Yep.
It's all copied from reality and replicated in a database. And then the artificial intelligence in Football Manager, which is the game and has been the game since the 80s, says, like, right, if you used this formation and gave the players these instructions, this is what would happen. But he's like, yeah, I got an AI team and I'm using data. Nobody's like, it's incredible what they can do now. He's just playing Football Manager. And I don't know if this will be part of his...
Someone say he always was.
Well, exactly.
Bob Bradley's record, by the way, 8 points from 11 games. That's why it was.
What's that on a PPG there? MN
0.73.
Shite, innit?
But what were they doing before Bob got there?
Probably about the same.
Well,
anyway,
maybe
it's a massive improvement.
It is an achievement, though, that I've never listened to that other guy's podcasts.
Come on here, Jesse, come on here. If you're watching this, and I'm sure you still check in because you're vain, come on this show.
If you can share a podcast platform with Letitia and Graham Linehan and still end up looking the biggest dick on there, it's some going. So well done, Jesse.
We still haven't signed a fullback, just with reference to Rasmus before, which is how we went off on a Jesse tangent. Links to Nico Williams from Forest, Connor Roberts, Burnley, Ben Johnson at West Ham, Ben Davies at Spurs. Quite a lot of Bens.
Just
Ryan Giles
Welsh fullbacks.
Just sign. They've still got the Welsh filter on, haven't they?
Yeah.
But for the most part, the Ben Davies one is interesting because you would have thought he was out of our reach because he's 31, heading towards 32 in the spring. But Dad's a Leeds fan, and his best mates with Joe Rodon, who apparently loves it here. So get it done. I mean, he's injured at the minute, dodgy hamstring, so fit in with the rest of our left backs.
I've got to admit, he's kind of completely off my radar as a footballer. I had no idea he was that old. There you go. But yeah, fine. We'll have him even though he's injured, I suppose. Yeah. If he's mates with Joe, the two can get on.
News this week about Robert Snodgrass retiring. Big old doff of the cap to Snoddy. We'll do a little standalone show about Snoddy, I think, in the next week or two. Because he warrants it, doesn't he? Because he was fun during a bleak time. But we just want to acknowledge that and just say, yeah, nice one. It's all right, wasn't he?
the tribute he was looking for.
Yeah, nice one.
You were good, you.
Yeah. All the effort he put in at Leeds. Nice one, mate.
No, you're good. But he's getting his own show. What does he want? But
It's interesting actually to talk about Archie Gray earlier and how you want the club to grow around him so we can get to keep him because we are good. That whole era of Bates was just a list of those players, wasn't it? That you go, oh, it would have been nice if we'd have got to see Snodgrass for another couple of years because we made a good team around him.
Because we were better.
And Fab Delph and Jermaine Beckford and Max Gradle and Becchio. Like there were good players in there, but they were just always passing through because we were completely lacking any ambition.
Even, I mean, they get underrated a bit, but Howson played Premier League. Johnson played in the Premier League with Norwich as well.
Yeah.
Kasper Schmeichel obviously won the fucking Premier League somehow. I suppose he was pretty good. And all those players, we were, Simon Grayson says if you'd just been allowed to sign a couple of better defenders, and we were unlucky with, because Norbo was a very good defender, but his Achilles went right at the end of, right when we got promoted. Then, we were so close to the playoffs the first time. Worse teams than that team have managed to get promoted. And then, but yeah, it was almost ridiculous looking back. And each one, you kind of lull yourself into that security at the time where each one is like, oh, well, we won't, if Howson, we'll pass them on the way up one by one. And then you suddenly realise they are all playing in the Premier League.
Us and Ramon Nunes will pass you on the way up.
That was it. I mean, Snodgrass was Warnock replaced him with Luke Varney. And it's kind of an illustration of, I suppose it's making hay while the sun shines, isn't it? That we kind of, instead of signing the player or the players, one or two, to get us promoted when we were top of the league at Christmas, you then let them all go until you're just left with Luke Varney, Danny Webber. Who else did we bring in? I suppose eventually Cameron Stewart and Jimmy Kebby came to kind of save the situation.
Championship landfill.
Yeah. Whereas what we'd somehow, and I suppose it's, I guess it links to Ben Davies, is how much, I don't know how much the draw, it was like a perfect storm with Snoddy because we had McAllister, brought him in, and we're Leeds, and I think we managed to tempt some players to League One. There's a bit about Andy Robinson, the new mag as well, so remembering that him, he actually won promotion from League One with Swansea, but then signed for Leeds, thinking that we'd be getting promoted as well, but was like, I want to go to a bigger club. And ended up staying in League One with us for circumstances out of his control. But yeah, we quietly built, because Snodgrass was with us in League One, Beckford, Becchio. Who else was down there all the way? Was Howson? Howson was in League One, obviously. Fab Delph. It's a ridiculous team to have had it at that level. And yeah, we could only keep them. It was ambition that went where the players had the ambition that the club didn't. So one by one, they all went. Howson went to Norwich, and then Snoddy was left behind going like, right, well, if this is an ambitious club. That was the summer. I suppose it is instructive with Archie Gray and stuff. The summer Snoddy went was when he was basically arguing in the press with Neil Warnock, and it's like, it's all very well him saying that we're going to have a great season and get promoted, but I mean, the subtext of what he was saying was, I don't believe him. and also, I've been here long enough that if it's not happening this season, I can't just have another season doing the same things over and over again.
That's what I meant earlier on, actually. It's about us living in denial as football fans, isn't it? We prefer to avoid some of the uncomfortable truths about our football teams, I think, when it feels better, there's comfort in thinking they're going to stay around. Yeah,
and it's very much up to a player at times. Loyalty can be stretched as far as it is, but there's also, personal ambition for somebody who's come from Scotland and has their own ideas of what to do. And the thing with Snodgrass that stands out for pretty much all his clubs is I think every team he played for, they loved him because he's just that kind of player who, whatever shirt he is wearing, he will make sure he is playing as well as he possibly can. And I don't think there's a club he played for that, where the fans didn't take to him.
Wrapping up the stuff with the other teams then, 21s played a game against Everton. No, they didn't. That was at York. It was frozen. Frozen pitch, is that what they're going for these days? The term for when it's
solid.
A chilly pitch?
Solid
frozen.
pitch.
Frozen chilly pitch, yeah. Presumably they don't have undersoil heating at the York Community Stadium. The women played against Middlesbrough and lost 3-1. Middlesbrough are cheating by proxy, are we saying, because they hoovered up all the talent that Newcastle let go last season, who won this division and bought their way out of it. Stop that.
They would describe it as showing ambition,
Right.
I think. Getting a load of good players and winning the league.
Yeah.
It's probably a good tactic when there's only one promotion place.
You can read the match report on that by Flora. It's on thesquareball.net. And let's wrap things up on Charlie Creswell. Sounds like a parting of the ways is inevitable, doesn't it? What do you think about that? Talking about young players leaving in this show. He's seemingly having should we say, a butting of heads with Daniel Farke, if the recent press conference comments are to be taken at face value.
I'd like to see that literally happening because they've both got very big heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, it opens some sort of black hole, I think.
Right.
As maybe a mushroom cloud would appear from the two of them. But yeah, it's weird. I think everyone was a bit taken aback by this because it was like, well, he's Charlie Creswell.
That's Leeds United's number 5.
He's a young local centre back. He can't be causing bother. When it's one of these fancy foreign wingers, it's one thing, but it's different altogether when it's Charlie Creswell. But yeah, if you back Farke on Willie Gnonto and being hard on people like that and Jed Spence, I guess you back him on this, don't you? If it's the decision one way or another.
Yeah, it's quite a tough disciplinary line being taken because it's not only that you have to wait your turn, but you have to wait your turn in a manner befitting a player who deserves a turn when the turn comes round. And he sort of alluded to the fact that Creswell thought that when there would be a player injured in his position, he will automatically take that. And it's almost like seems like it's teaching him a lesson. Say, well, no, because you've been a right grumpy bastard around the place and I don't want a grump in the team, whether there's an injury or not. I'll put somebody else there until you cheer up or go. And the going part of it, if he is going, was interesting because obviously Phil was saying that most of the interest is from clubs who are consider themselves, or we consider them to be rivals for promotion, and we don't want him to go to a team where he could have an impact on the promotion race. And makes you wonder, Luke Ayling to Middlesbrough is a move that could have an impact on us being promoted. But I think that was part of what Farke was saying about this, where he's saying that, Luke, he came and asked if he could go to Middlesbrough. And when you think about everything that Luke Ayling has done for this football club over a considerable period of time and the way in which he's done those things for this football club, there is no way that you can say to a player like him who has done so much, no. Whereas if Charlie Creswell, I think, came and said, I want to go to Middlesbrough, it'd be like, well, why should we let you do what you want? Because you've not done any of the things that Luke Ayling has done that mean he deserves it. So I think that's all part of the kind of the butting of heads, as you put it, that Creswell is not being given things that Farke, and presumably he's backed by other people at the club on this, think he hasn't earned. Whether that's a place in the team or a place in Middlesbrough's team or whoever else it is that wants him.
If you had a grumpy player, Michael, I mean, obviously you're a seasoned coach.
Mm-hmm.
How would you deal with it?
Cheer him up.
How?
Tickles. Just give him a little tickle. Tell him to not be so miserable.
Really?
Yeah, it'd work really well. Do you think Willie Gnonto wouldn't have been solved by the bit of a tickle in summer?
The Square Ball Podcast.